we have the man himself, Zach Berman. And he's even got the streaks of light there in the background. Nice job, Zach. Looking sharp.
Good to see you guys. It was a journey to get up here, but thrilled to be here. Interesting locker room after the game. In some ways, it's like every other big win during the past decade, and that Brandon Graham's there waiting for everyone to walk in and saying, "You picked against us, and you picked against us, and you didn't believe us." But the reality is, and I'm sure you guys heard Nick Sirianni, a message that he had really was the message throughout the locker room was in terms of physicality. That all week long, and AJ Brown said it, you have to be physical against the Ravens. You have to match their physicality. But really, you heard Nick say he wants to rephrase the question that the Ravens had to match their physicality, and that was a big point, being the physical team. Then the other big theme in this locker room was about the sacrifice of the week. Now, every team practices on Thanksgiving, right? But that was seen to be a talking point that a lot of players really clung on to.
I don't know what it is about the framing here or the pixelation, but you almost look like AI right now. You look a little bit fake.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to him.
Yeah, Zach wishes he could be uploaded. Think of all the
are you referring to Allen Iverson or
no?
Oh, okay. Artificial intelligence. Yeah. Okay. Just trying to be intelligent, artificial or natural.
Hey, Zach, what could you tell? What was that thing that Cooper DeJean did to celebrate that play he did?
I asked Cooper DeJean, and
can you show us what? You can see it clearly on the broadcast. What did he do?
No, I can't show you. But you're the dancer. I've seen you at weddings before.
Why
yeah,
not?
I've seen you at weddings. I've seen you cut a rug. I've seen you cut a rug. I honestly, I got to watch the film. So, Fran being the film guy, I'll defer to Fran there, but I do need to watch it back.
It was something like this. Could you show like?
Yeah. So
could you do it?
No.
You were
No, I got to tell you guys a quick story real quick. Bo's heard this story. So we were taking photos for PHLY the other day, in our PHLY gear, and Chris, our outstanding, social media guy, says, social media director says, why don't you guys do something funny in this shot? And I turned to Bo and I said, Bo, I don't want a Landon Donovan moment, where Landon Donovan's doing that weird Sports Illustrated cover. And then it turns out that I got a bunch of text over the weekend or over the week being like, what is this photo of you and Bo? I am definitely not doing that Cooper DeJean dance.
That honestly calls into question to me your reporting accuracy, because that is not exactly how that story went.
So I asked Cooper DeJean what that was, and he says it's something that they planned either last night or a few nights ago, but he didn't want to tell me what it was. CJ Gardner-Johnson gave an explanation for it that it didn't quite. I didn't quite understand what it meant. He meant calm down next play or something like that. That's that. And then Zach Bond, I asked Zach Bond about it, and Zach's like, he didn't know what it was, but he started doing it because everyone else was doing it.
Well, everybody but
just
Zach
like
Berman.
you, Zach. Here, we're going to do it. You join us.
Zach. Stay strong.
You guys are doing it great.
Zach.
Look, I'm in Baltimore, and so I learned from some great Baltimoreans that a man must have a code, right? And I'm going to adhere to that.
All right.
Great Omaha reference.
Well done.
All right. Tell us more about what you heard and saw in the locker room.
Yeah, it's really. I spoke to a lot of the defensive guys who really emphasized the physicality, the fact that early in games you're kind of feeling each other out. You want to see their first 15, and then after that, that's when things kind of start. That's when you settle down. I'm sure you guys heard Sirianni. I asked that Sirianni question about the sequence of Braden Mann pinning them back, the Eagles forcing a 3-and-out, and scoring there, because that came up in the locker room as a key to the game. And actually, what Nick said in the post-game press conference, I heard in the locker room, which was there was and perhaps it was because Nick made a point of it, but the fact that the Eagles fielded their punts and the Ravens didn't, they thought that was a little detail in this game that was critical, and they thought that really allowed them to pin it back. And look, in real time, I thought Nick should have gone for that 4th and 2 because from my perspective, you needed points in this game. I didn't think the defense would hold them to one touchdown through 59 minutes, right? But the fact that they pinned them back, they force 3 and out, they get a short field, they go down and score. Everything changed from that point. Zach Bond made he made a point that the key to this game was making it a kicking game, right? And that like third downs. I know Professor Selman. Well, it's different on defense, but like a key here was the way they played on third downs, the way they played in the red zone, keeping the points off the board. Like Baltimore came into this game scoring 30 points a game, and the fact that they had one touchdown up until the final minute, they haven't gone an entire game this year with just one touchdown. Now that stat was kind of nullified by that score late in the game, but that was a big point of emphasis was third down, red zone, and really limiting the touchdowns there. The Lamar Jackson of it. Speaking to C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he was pointing out like the importance of being disciplined because he could beat you two different ways. He talked about the eyes and how important your eyes were in this game, and they really didn't get. There was that explosive to Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews made a few plays, but relative to what the Ravens have done, that was a big point of emphasis. So there was a lot of talk about the defense. There's a lot of talk about special teams as well.
I'm curious, Zach. Jalen Carter plays so many snaps in this game. The defensive ends, it's just the three of them playing the entire game, essentially. Did those guys seem exhausted to you?
No, I spoke to a few of them. No, they didn't seem any more exhausted than in some other games. Honestly, the game that jumps out when like you could really see the exhaustion was Tampa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that had to do with the heat. But I remember that Tampa game, like you felt bad talking to some of these players because you felt like they just needed to leave. They were so tired. I didn't get that sense tonight. I know they took a lot of snaps, but really and part of it might have been because they won. There was adrenaline, but I've been in winning locker rooms where the guys seem exhausted, and I didn't really get that sense in there tonight.
Zach, post-game locker room playlist, anything jump out to you?
The music was turned down when I walked in. I heard that they had Michael Jackson playing. Maybe that's like a good luck thing. But no, when I was in there, the music wasn't loud. It was more the players, right? It was kind of like the boy who cried wolf in there because Nolan Smith kept shouting out Sirianni to the podium, Sirianni to the podium. I left two different interviews thinking Sirianni was going to the podium, but it was really Nolan Smith messing with everybody, right? And so when Sirianni was going to the podium, I felt like I was telling my son about the boy who cried wolf. I wasn't ready to go, and then one of the PR guys was like, "No, Nick's actually going now. He really is going." But yeah, no one's just kept shouting out Sirianni to the podium. So he did take me out twice with that.
Hey Zach, I got a question.
Yeah, seriously, I'm there to work as well, Nolan. Yeah, I'm listening.
With this game, do you think Nick is in the Coach of the Year conversation?
Oh, absolutely. And look, I mean, 10-2. Now they were expected to be good this year, but like they were 2-2. People were calling for his job, and the momentum that they have is, I think, a lot of it is Nick's messaging, the way he's handling the locker room. He's done a good job there. Now, typically, that award goes more to like the surprise teams than the team that's expected to be good. And obviously, like I'm focused literally every single day of my life on the Eagles. So I might be close to the sun on this one. But
you look like
yeah,
it.
I mean, I think Nick's done an outstanding coaching job. And the reality is this, like, we'll see what happens. The Panthers are getting better. Steelers are a tough team. It's conceivable that the Eagles are 15-2, right? I mean, or 14-2 going into week 18. So yeah, based on that, he absolutely deserves consideration. My guess is there are some other coaches who might push for that award, but look, if his name should be in that conversation, he has the highest winning percentage of any coach in the NFL.
I'll be honest with you. You know, the way these Eagle games was going, get my blood pressure up and down, he deserves it.
Yeah, Vinny finally understands what it's like to be a fan.
Yeah.
Man,
it's not easy over here, Vinny.
And listen, I'm vouching for defensive rookie of the year, coach of the year, and MVP. Saquon.
Honestly, more than anything, I would say coordinator of the year should be Vic Fangio, and I feel more strongly about that than anything else. And I've said this on Anthony's show. I've said this on
we need a Fangio
PHLY
shirt.
Eagles show.
Just nostrils.
Just the nose. Yeah,
we need a Vic shirt in the store.
like the fan genius. Yeah, it should be like the fan genius or something, right? Or
you
have
really
him at Palladium.
Wow.
Did you see him look around like you just nailed it?
Eagles Insider comes up with Eagles Insider comes up with great headlines.
I guess not. No. And I'll explain this. I've always been, anyone who's listened to our podcast for the last 6 years, I've always been a player's guy, and I think coaches get too much credit and too much blame, and I think players win games and players lose games. But to see what this defense was last year and to see what they are this year, and I know the personnel's changed, but they are so well coached. They're so disciplined. They're fundamentally sound. There's a different game plan every week, and the other thing too is like they adjust throughout the game. And you saw that tonight. And I want to go back and look this week, how many times the opponent scores early in games, but not thereafter, because they're making adjustments as the game goes on. I'm believing the hype with Fangio. I did not necessarily seeing it going like this. Right, and this defense, they were number one in total yardage coming into the game, but what they did against that Baltimore offense. Teams don't do that against Baltimore. I watched a decent amount of Baltimore this week. Teams don't do that against Baltimore. I was really impressed with the game plan and the approach.
And in this game, with no Slay, with Isaiah Rodgers out there, with Tristan McCollum coming in midway through the game for Reed Blankenship, Quinyon Mitchell and Nakobe Dean both missing a little bit of time. I totally agree with you. And if we are nitpicking a little bit the offensive performance, I think one thing we might say is that it doesn't seem like they always adjust to their personnel the same way that the defense does. It's like at the halftime show, we were talking about when they get stopped right before that punt that pinned them, the Ravens down at the 1, they call a run play on 3rd and 2 that's relying on Paris Campbell to block a guy in the same way that they might be relying on Johnny Wilson to block a guy in the hole. And I think that's something they can do better on offense, whereas on defense, like Vic Fangio, it's the Zach Bond story, which of course everybody can read on allphly.com. Zach did a great deep dive on how the Eagles are getting good play at linebacker this year. But it seems like they are, in addition to making sure that everybody knows where they are and they're playing hard and like the awareness is high, everybody's being used to the best of their ability.
Yeah, to buttress that point, I asked Zach Bond which of the two plays he was like most proud of, most jacked up about, the sack on Lamar Jackson or the tackle on Derrick Henry. And he said it was the play against Henry, because he said that's one that he saw during the week, that he actually like deviated from his assignment on the play because of how it was unfolding, and he went and he made the play. So obviously everyone likes sacks, right? But the fact that he was able to make that play, that really jumped out to him.
Fran, keep it together. Don't you dare.
No, it sounded like he said it's everybody likes Zach's. That's why I chuckled.
Zach, how was the disparity?
Dave Canales, we know for sure.
The penalties in this game on TV.
Yeah,
it seemed. I mean, it was ridiculous. How did it seem live in person? Did you feel it in the stadium there?
I didn't think there was anything egregious. Like I saw a lot of penalties, in particular on special teams, and that's something that must be cleaned up. But I didn't think being here at this game that there was anything egregious with the calls. I actually thought there were a few calls that might have gone the Eagles' way. So I did see on social media that there are a lot of fans upset about the officiating. I didn't think it was egregious. I'll go back and watch it, but I thought a key play on one of their scoring drives, Jalen could have been flagged for intentional grounding, which he wasn't when he threw the ball away. And that
was a
turned
second
into
down
a big
before the third down completion to Goddard.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, and I have on the TV feed when I watch, and I heard Tony Romo say on the quarterback sneak touchdown that should have been a false start on the Eagles.
Right.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So I thought there were a few things that actually went in the Eagles' direction on some pivotal plays.
What did you think of Jalen Hurts' performance in this game, Zach?
I thought he did enough. Right? I mean, I thought he did enough, and there's all this talk about game manager. I don't quite know. Yeah, look, his numbers aren't prolific.
Yeah, you don't need to feed into that. That's not our narrative.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
Yeah. I left Sirianni in the middle of it because I wanted to go talk to DeGene, and I'm glad I did. But I heard Sirianni vouch for Jalen as like an MVP candidate. I don't know if Jalen's an MVP, if Jalen's at that MVP level right now. But I think I give Jalen credit because he's doing enough. He's making money plays. He is managing the game well, like the 4-minute offense. He's managing that well. They took the ball at 6:11. They didn't give it back until a minute left, and they scored a field goal. I thought the 2 touchdown drives in the second quarter, he made some huge plays there. I thought the run to the goal line was a big play. The slants to AJ, those were working. I mean, I look at the numbers, and it's certainly not prolific, but I think Jalen he's doing what it takes. And I spoke to Jalen 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago about the quarterback wins. And he said, and if he should be, he feels like his job is to win games, and he's winning. And look, he's in the winner's circle quite a bit. And I think there's something to be said about that. So I didn't think his performance was prolific tonight, but I think he did enough. And he was going up against the guy who I thought was, is the MVP of the league, Lamar Josh Allen. And I thought Jalen made winning plays throughout the game. Do you disagree?
No, I think it'll be hard to. I would like to see the film, but I didn't think that he played a bad game. I think he made the most of what he had for the most part. But I think there might be some turndowns there. I was surprised that they didn't throw a single pass to AJ Brown in the second half, but I'm curious to see why that was. The possessions were a little bit wonky. Speaking of that, on Devontae Smith, how close do you think he was to playing? What's your understanding of Devontae Smith's status moving forward?
Yeah, I spoke to Devontae on Friday after our show. I mentioned this on the pregame with Jamie and Rich. Devontae wanted to go last week, and he said that the training staff had to hold him back from himself. He said he was pushing to go. He really emphasized when I spoke to him Friday that this is out of his hands, and probably for good reason. Now, Jalen was an exercise science major at Alabama, and I point that out because he has like a really good understanding. And I heard this before, but then I asked him about this. He has a really good understanding about soft tissue injuries, and he said hamstrings in particular. He had a torn hamstring in college at Alabama, and he says he really knows specifics about that injury, certain treatments to do, certain things to stay away from. And so he actually consults with the training staff quite a bit about that particular injury. He was close in that he practiced this week. He warmed up before the game. That's more than he did last week. Last week he didn't travel. So my guess is he's getting really close. I'm expecting him to I would expect him to play next week against Carolina. But I thought going into the game today, he wasn't going to be active.
Gotcha.
Zach, who did you think was the best Eagle on the field today?
Great question. Jalen Carter was my answer. I thought like the most impactful. It's hard for me before I go back to look at the offensive line. I mean, Saquon did things against that rush defense that teams don't typically do. I'm of the opinion that AJ Brown's the best player on the field just about every week, right? I mean, I'm kind of with what Bo was saying earlier. There's my biggest critique of this offense is like there's no limit on the amount of times he can throw the ball to AJ Brown. I would just keep throwing it to him because good things tend to happen when he gets the ball. But in terms of most impactful today, I did think it was Jalen Carter.
All right, Zach, I have one last thing for you. I'm gonna put you in a difficult position. Okay. I'm sorry to do this, but we got to do it. We have the pictures that you are embarrassed by from our photo shoot the other day. So the question for you now is: would you rather us show those pictures on the post-game show, or do the Cooper DeJean?
Well, the Cooper DeJean, I was on the other side. So I'll give you guys a good vantage point here. The Cooper DeJean play happened right in that corner over there. Okay.
Yeah.
I was sitting over here. I feel like John Madden.
I'm worried he's going to do it and we're not going to see it.
Yeah. So I actually, and I gotta say, I love coming down to Baltimore. Great people in Baltimore, real good organization. But they changed the press box location this year. It used to be my favorite press box in the NFL. This in Tennessee, and they moved it to the corner, which is fine. Like I get it. That where it was before is very valuable for suites. Okay, but I think they built this press box expecting like every game to be against Cincinnati. I might have been sitting on EJ Smith's lap during this game. Like it was EJ Smith and Elliott Shore-Parks. Like I was I mean, when I was in like the middle seat on Spirit Airways tonight, like it was that tight. And so so I did not. The Cooper DeJean play was in a corner. I saw, and then I saw the replay on the screen in front of me. I can't do that specifically what he did. I'll go back and watch the film. The reality is those photos that you mentioned, anyone who's watching this show 2 hours in, I imagine follows us on social media, has seen these photos. Chris is a wonderful. I love Chris. I love everyone in our office, but I don't know why that had to be our cover image.
They're nice photos.
I saw.
Let me see this photo.
All right.
I thought overall the photos were nice.
This is a lovely photo.
It's a nice photo. It gives you the Christmas spirit holiday.
This is two buddies. This is the whole vibe of the show.
It's enchanting.
My wife actually didn't even realize. She's like, that doesn't even look like that. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah. That face is a
Zach
face that
Down this picture, bro. You're not gonna believe that we are frozen right now, and it was stuck on this picture. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Zach, you look so stressed out in the second one.
I was. All that was going through my mind. All that was going through my mind was, look, I've spent 15 years building a career that I'm proud of, and then someone's going to go on and do a Google search, and the first thing that's going to come up is a picture of like Bo hugging me and blowing a kiss at me, and I'm like, this is my career, right?
Yo, bro, it's definitely a holiday card.
Yes.
The chat is calling for that to be the holiday card.
That's what my wife said. My wife said, "Are you guys going to send holiday cards?"
There you go.
Yeah, it's a great hoodie too, and there's some good deals on this hoodie right now.
I mean, we're trying to
absolutely
move
great deal on that hoodie. Yeah, great deal on that hoodie. Cyber Monday is tomorrow, and if you're not a diehard, you got to become a diehard. Fran Duffy's work is worthy alone of it. I was reading a Reddit. I was reading a forum this weekend of people debating whether they should be diehards, and what someone was saying in that forum was once they got Fran, like it became such a good deal, and I agree.
What kind of forum is this?
Yeah. I actually don't advise everyone to go look at it. I do research. I do research a lot of what people say about PHLY, All City, always looking for feedback. I had a great whether it's message boards, whether it's Reddit, you name it. I looked it up.
Do you have a Google alert
great
for
listener.
PHLY?
No, I actively search though. I actively search.
You didn't do this on Thursday, did you?
Good question.
No.
Zach.
No, Thursday night. No, Thursday night I was focusing on the article in the linebacker article. No, this was more Friday night, Saturday morning. This
is not constructive.
But no, shout out to loyal reader and listener and viewer Tim. I met up with Tim before the game, signed 2 books, and asked him how I can improve the show. But yeah, so anyways, the photo. It's the photo I don't love. I got on this path by saying Brands Die Hard is worth it. I was talking to someone over the weekend, and I was dropping like such great nuggets about the Ravens, and really, it was just like an open book test because Fran gave me all the notes on Thursday.
All right. Well, Zach, I'm sure you've got a nice drive home to get to, and we look forward to reading what you write on allphly.com for those diehards whenever you're done. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, guys. I'll see you this week.
All right. Thank you, Zach.
We all silly like the mayor.